Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexi Odds here. It's Tuesday morning, and it's time for another Classic Jurassic Tuesday trivia. And as you can see from the stream, our subject today is going to be Norman Powell. Of course, Norman is playing in the playoffs currently for the LA Clippers. They play tonight, and they could get eliminated tonight, I believe, because they're down. I think they're down 3-1. Yes, they are. So I want to go ahead and do him now because, listen, Norman has had some really good games in this series. In fact, he had a 40-point game last week, and it made all Raptors Nation go crazy and say, why did we trade him? Y'all are crazy when you always do this. Players are going to be good after they leave us. And just allow them to do that. It was the right move when it happened. MSJ said, I always liked Norm, another Raptors underdog, but we cut him loose. And ever since, was it a bad move at the time? No, but it was a change in mindset, I felt. That's an interesting way of looking at it. I mean, I know I used to really like the synergy between him and Fred. And then, of course, he was kind of like on that scale of dog with Kyle Lowry. I think that's what you're alluding to in some ways. In some ways, our bench got bad once we got rid of Norman, if you think about it. He was kind of like this guy we could always depend on as kind of a half starter, more bench kind of guy that could definitely pick us up and give us good quality stuff off the bench no matter what. And after we traded him for Gary, which was the right move, everybody says, oh, why did we do that? Well, Norman was about to get paid big time, and it wasn't going to fit with what we're doing. So we went and got a younger guy that did something similar that we could pay less. And that is smart management. It's just that people get sentimental. They get tied to somebody and they're like, oh, why did we trade him? And then they see people have success when they leave. They're like, oh, we shouldn't have traded him. This is not how this works, y'all. Y'all get on the front office for two things that are just dumb. And one of them is when we trade somebody and they go do good things other places, forget about that. They're gone. They're done. We have people that we focus on now that we did get. And it's not like, we are bad for giving up on Yuta, Svi, Alex Len, Norman Powell. You guys, we have to manage this team and do what's best in that moment. And it's not a bad move what he did. And even MSJ says it here. So that's how I feel about it. Then the other one that drives me crazy, and this is the one that everybody's doing this morning, is why did we draft Malachi Flynn instead of Desmond Bain? Oh my gosh, woulda, coulda, shoulda. We can't be perfect and know everything. And in some ways, that was what Masai liked. And in some ways, I really do like Malachi for his mental, some of the things about him and his character makeup are better in some ways. I don't know. I mean, listen, you can't be perfect. And the woulda, coulda, shoulda with like draft picks and trading people away is dumb. Quit it, Raptors Nation. It's unnecessary behavior, unnecessary exercise. We do what we do with what we've got and stay present. You can't have regrets about stupid things that could have probably never happened. So just stop it. Stop it. We drafted Malachi Flynn. Get over yourself with Desmond Bain and get over yourself with Norman, too. Norman is a Clipper, and that's where he should be right now. so crazy. So, of course, we'll do about 7 more minutes of news and notes, and then we'll get right into the trivia. Of course, the big, huge news yesterday, the Woj bomb, was Ime Udoka signs with the Houston Rockets to be their next coach. So it's pretty much confirmed this is a better fit in a lot of ways than Nick Nurse for them. Maybe they watched my stream yesterday where I said, yeah, go ahead and get Nick Nurse. Go ahead, Houston. Go ahead, do it. And they're like, oh, no, wait, that doesn't make sense for our core, our young guys to get Nick Nurse. So they did go get Udoka, which is actually the smart move for them. Now, they could be set up in some ways. Like if they win the draft lottery and they got Victor Wembanyama and some things happening for them next year, woo, look out. That's why I want the Spurs to win Victor Wembanyama and get him in a Spurs uniform for next season. That's what I would like, I'll tell you right now. So, yeah, Ime is officially out of the coaching search for the Raptors because he has been hired now. In some ways, I bet that Houston hired him yesterday because they're a little worried about Masai coming and snatching him up and bringing him into our fold here in Toronto. So they were probably like, we better go get him now before Toronto gets involved. So it is what it is. I know a lot of Raptors fans are breathing a sigh of relief because they did not want him to come here. And in some ways, him going to Houston is, woo, all right. Some of the women in that follow our team are like that, So, we're going to have to see what happens with this coaching search now. I have gotten confirmation that Adrian Griffin is not being asked to leave, just like Nick. He is being retained to be asked for an interview to be the head coach of the Raptors. So there's officially interview process with Adrian Griffin to interview for this job. I'm going to guess that Earl Watson's also there too. Now, another thing that came out yesterday, which was crazy, was the last open gym of this season came out yesterday, and it was totally depressing. It was awful. It was sad. And in it, you can see why Nick Nurse had to be fired. There's a couple times where he says, "Come on in, guys." And he's standing there with Delano Banton on his hand, and that's it. Everybody else didn't even bother to get up out their ass and come in and do a high five with him right at the very end. We see the very last one that Nick ever does as the head coach of the Raptors. It's sad. And nobody stands up. Nobody walks over, and nobody does the team cheer. That is a true sign that they had lost faith in him. I am starting to speculate more and more about exactly what the fuck happened this year. If I winders this a little bit more, I think that Nick got in a fight with another coach, Earl Watson, on the team, about the team, behind the scenes, maybe said some crazy ass shit, and it pissed off everybody on the team as far as the players. And they're like, "We've no respect for you anymore, Nick." I think that he said something very out of pocket this season, and he lost them that way. And in some ways, like, you can tell these guys, this is what Precious said in the open gym. You have to be professional. You have to show up. You have to do your job. And that may have been the mode that a lot of these guys have been on for most of the season. That their heart's not into it, but they're pros. They're getting paid big time. They got to come out there and they got to do something. And this would actually really explain a lot of the half-assed effort on the court that that these guys did actually were lost by Nick Nurse, because you can tell in the behind the scenes on the open gyms in the last couple of this season that he did. I mean, remember when Fred broke the assist franchise record and he brought the ball in and he said, "Hey guys, this is the game ball for Fred for the game." And he said he had to say this to the bench, to the people sitting in the dressing room. "This is for Freddie, y'all, not for me." It's like, celebrate Fred. And still, nobody got up off their ass and celebrated in any kind of way like they did in New York when Pascal got 50 points. So there's some really weird telltale signs from the open gym episodes recently, just how much Nick had lost their respect in some ways. It's not even that he lost their basic respect as players and professionals. He may have lost their respect as a person. And it was interesting when Nick was asked, "Do the players still listen to you?" And he says, "I think so." That's not a very definite answer. Yes, he's like, "I think so," and like that. No, and you can tell. It's really, really fucked up. We need a new coach as soon as possible to come in and give these guys some organization, somebody to believe in, somebody to get behind and trust once again. Because at some point, the trust with Nick Nurse was lost. Another thing struck me is, what if they were mad at Nick because they saw what they were doing to Thaddeus? In some ways, these guys really do like money and getting each other money. And if they know that Thad has his bonus to play for 60 games and they start seeing coach benching him on purpose near the end of the season, that probably makes them pissed off at him even more so, because, the players are solid together. They're pretty united. And if they were in that situation that Thad was in, they'd probably be pissed at Nick Nurse too. So in some ways, that may have contributed to why the players didn't trust or like Nick anymore, because they saw how he was punishing Thaddeus and that they knew he was going to lose out on $500,000 because he didn't get his bonus. Besides said they wanted to give him that bonus. They were not telling him not to play him, and that Nick did that on purpose. I think there was a lot of petty shit going on the down low with our team, and specifically with Nick Nurse doing petty ass shit left and right. And it may be that he was trying to struggle to continue to keep control of the team, but he pushed them away even further as he did petty ass shit, like what he did with Thaddeus. So I'm windowing here, but there's more and more pieces of the puzzle that are coming out that make more sense. That what the fuck happened with the Raptors this season? The fact that we could be 41-41 with a team that checked out on our coach. Just imagine if these guys are playing for their coach and busting their ass and listening and organized. Yeah, we're a very good team. The fact that we're a 500 team with all this dysfunction and all this crazy ass shit, yeah, we're very talented core. And people that don't know basketball are going to say, why would you try and continue with this core? Well, the problems aren't with the talent or the core. The problems were with basic, just personal interrelations on the team. And well, I think we got to fix the big one, which is Nick Nurse. Holy crap, that's crazy. All right, let me read what you guys are saying, and then don't write any more comments because I do want to get in the trivia very soon. Ahmed's here. Good to see Ahmed the GOAT. Always ready to play some trivia. Ahmed, you made it on time. I'm so proud of you. I remember in the beginning when you were just a early trivia player out there in Israel that you would show up like the day after. Hey, is trivia today? And I was like, no, it was yesterday. Well, you're here on time this time. And I love it, Ahmed. So good to see you. I told you a while ago that I'm going to Global Jam this summer. Kentucky is representing the USA and they have 5 top 25 prospects for next year. So excited. That's awesome, Ahmed. Yeah, we were talking about meeting up. And then I was like, no, maybe I shouldn't because you're a kid. And that is cool. They did announce John Calipari saying that his team from the University of Kentucky, one of the highest esteemed college basketball programs in the United States, is coming to Toronto for the Global Jam to represent the United States as their team. And that's a fantastic team, the Kentucky Wildcats coming and playing in that. And as you said, they have 5 of the top 25 prospects in this year's draft. This is fantastic stuff. I love the idea of them coming. This really does bring an element of prestige to the Global Jam at another level. And Calipari is very excited about coming here, and so is Ahmed. Good stuff. And welcome coming back to Canada, hanging out in Canada very soon, Ahmed. Name was the same. Was Scotty in the building last night? Another Leafs win. All right. Yeah, we got to bring this up. Couple of improbable comebacks last night. Sports is good, baby. Yeah, sports is good. There's lots of good sports. Yeah, first of all, the Leafs down major 4-1. I was talking to Stevie Roots practicing these trivia questions on Norman Powell on him last night during the game. And it was like we started doing the trivia, and the Leafs got their first goal at that point. And Steve was like, yes, yes. And I said, maybe the trivia is good luck for the Leafs. We got to finish this trivia while it's going on. Of course, he had like the baseball game and the Leafs game going at the same time. So it was all crazy at his house. Well, I didn't watch the game. I turned it off, and boom, all of a sudden, I was like expecting they were going to lose because Tampa Bay had a good lead. And then all of a sudden, I saw the score later, and I saw that the Leafs came back and won in overtime 5-4. And I was like, yes, you go Leafs. In some ways, people are saying that we are exercising the demons of the Tampa season at Amalie Arena for the Toronto Raptors with the Leafs. That the Leafs have had such bad success in Amalie with the Lightning in first rounds and years past that we just went down there and beat them 2 games in a row on their home rink in overtime, comeback victories. Fantastic stuff, Leafs. You guys just need to win one more and you'll be in the second round. Oh my gosh. I'm so proud of you, buds. Keep going. Keep going. I'm not sure if Scotty was at the game last night. There was no indication that he was in the house in Tampa, though. Just so you know, nameless. Amit's saying, we didn't know Bane would be this good, though. Exactly. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. We don't fucking know. It's all a crapshoot. Like, people are going to say, oh, we should have picked Siakam way earlier when they did. Exactly. All this stuff happens. And if you think about how often we come out on the higher end of getting somebody and everybody's saying, damn, we should have picked Koloko, or damn, we should have picked Siakam. We should have picked OG, damn it. You know, we win those way more often than we lose those. And we're going to lose a lot of them because there's way more players in this league than we can have. So it's like these are such dumb scenarios when people bring these up. MSJ saying, yep, he was a Messiah original, but it was the right move. Go Leafs, though. At Nameless, I don't think he was. Let's see. No, I don't know if Scotty was there. I'm pretty sure he wasn't at the game. He may have posted it again if he was, but maybe he did go. Maybe he got hooked on that playoff excitement. Maybe Scotty wants to vicariously live in the playoff spirit through the Leafs a little bit right now. Who knows? Maybe he's even mimicking them on the travel, and he's coming back to Toronto in the next couple days. Maybe he'll be at more of the games. Maybe he got hooked on Maple Leaf hockey, and he's all about going to the games and supporting them to a Stanley Cup. That'd be crazy if Scotty became like a super fan of the Maple Leafs and then he was a part of like a Stanley Cup championship parade just because he started rooting for them like crazy. That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. Ahmed saying he wouldn't have dropped to 30 if we knew. That's right. If we knew that stuff about Desmond Bain, it's like if everybody knows who they're going to be in the future, well, they get drafted way differently. All right. Nako's brought up one of the big stories about comebacks last night, and that was in Miami with Jimmy Buckets. Oh my gosh. Hot damn. Jimmy Buckets. Nako the Nacho saying, yeah, 56 points, breaking a Miami Heat playoff franchise record for most points. The man looked like Michael Jordan last night. The man took over. The man put Giannis Antetokounmpo to shame. The Milwaukee Bucks are in big trouble. This is exactly what the NBA wanted to write, is this kind of story, because the Heat are very seriously looking like they're going to take out the number one seed now. And wow, Kyle Lowry doing Kyle Lowry kind of stuff as a partner to Jimmy Butler, and also just amazing stuff. This is the difference right there. Jimmy Butler is the epitome of what you need to be in this league to succeed, to be that crazy and that balling out kind of crazy act. That's what you want in your pros. You don't want guys like Giannis. You don't want guys like Kawhi. You want guys like Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler makes you win, and he does it in the way that you're supposed to do it in the NBA. You go Jimmy Butler in the Miami Heat. I predicted they were going to beat Milwaukee last night, and I was right. I picked Milwaukee. I picked Miami and the Lakers to win last night, and they did. That's how it went down. The referees were set up that way, and that is how it all went down. So let me just do real quick the referees for tonight, since I got it all set up. Atlanta at Boston, Game 5. Very crucial game, but it could be Boston closing out the series. Josh Tiven is the crew chief. Courtney Kirkland and Trey Maddox are the other two refs. All three of them favor the Celtics. This has been this way the whole series. All the ref crews have very much favored the Boston Celtics statistically, and this has continued for this game also. I think that Atlanta's in big trouble. DeJounte Murray is suspended for bumping Giannis Petrus after the last game in this series, and he will not be available tonight. So they're in trouble. Meanwhile, it's true. Jason Tatum pushed a ref in this series, and there was no backlash or punishment for him. And I saw the footage of him pushing the ref just now. It looked pretty bad. And if they're going to do this to Murray, they should have done it to Tatum also. So we are seeing Boston favoritism in this series for sure. The scriptwriters of the NBA want the Celtics to survive. Minnesota at Denver tonight. Scott Foster is the crew chief. Curtis Blair and Brian Forte are the other two refs. Scott Foster is favoring the Minnesota Timberwolves slightly, very slightly. Meanwhile, Curtis Blair and Brian Forte favor the Nuggets. Another series where the Nuggets can close this out in a Game 5 against the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards did not want to get swept in the last game in Minnesota. He made sure they didn't. Well, when you want to try and stay surviving, Anthony Edwards, you got to show up tonight and do it again, brother. All right, LA Clippers at Phoenix. I just said Scott Foster's in Denver, so Scott Foster is not refereeing the game for Chris Paul and Phoenix. It is Zach Zarba is the crew chief tonight for that game. Ben Taylor and Carl Lane are the other two refs. Zach Zarba favors the Phoenix Suns. Meanwhile, Ben Taylor and Carl Lane both very heavily favor the Clippers. So it's not totally clear there. It may be that they want to extend the series a little bit with the Clippers winning another one against Phoenix, because they could get closed out tonight also. So there's 3 games tonight where a couple teams could be eliminated from the playoffs tonight. We'll have to see how that goes. We'll have to see how that goes. Fiercey's here. Good morning, fam. With the recent updates, I wonder who will coach the Raptors. Also, I'm honestly surprised about the Heat's performance leading over the Bucks. Wow, that's just the will of Jimmy Buckets. Jimmy Butler is a serious NBA player. This dude is for real. He's the kind of guy you really want on your team. This is why the Sixers should never let him go when they had him in their team that year we beat them. They needed to keep him. He's very important. Fiercely saying, why would they air the Open Gym episode, giving ammunition to haters and other fan bases to trash us further? I was wondering about that too a little bit, but they have to be true documentarians. They got to show all aspects of what's happened with us. And in some ways, the Open Gym series is an ongoing anthology of our whole entire history. So in some ways, they have to capture the end of our season and exactly what happened, and also show the part with firing Nick Nurse. Yeah, I don't care about all that outside noise anymore. The people from other fan bases are awful. The trolls and the haters are awful. And we just got to cut that out. Fiercely, when we read things online at this point and they're triggering us, that's something telling us that we don't need to go there anymore. In fact, these people don't deserve our time. Why would we waste time reading seconds of reading these stupid little comments and stuff? In some ways, we want to feed the anger towards them by reading them. And that's part of the trigger is you get a little bit of a high from being mad. So we've got to really train ourselves to not go there. That's the best and most important thing. Because first of all, the oxygen that they breathe is attention, and we don't need that. We don't need that. It's not like what any of these people are saying is important or is going to change anything. It's just their dumbass noise. So this is what I've had to really train myself on for the last month more and more, is like really training myself when I feel like, all right, this person's pissing me off from what they're saying. I say, all right, I don't want to read this anymore, go somewhere else. Comment sections are cesspools and should not be read for the most part. But they needed to document what's happened with us at least. And that was a pretty fair way of doing it without too much damage. I understand why people are saying, oh, why would they do it that way? Well, they had to document the story of the season and how it ended. And it wasn't pretty. We know that. But like every good movie, there's a time where the good guy is down and out, and then they come back and rise up and win again. So we're going to get to that point again. It's a long series. And, we'll see the ups and downs getting back to the second Larry O'Brien. I think we're closer to it than people think. I mean, Paul Pierce thinks we're close to it. MSJ saying at Knocko, the Bucks are in deeper shit. Jimmy went nuts, and Miami will take them out now. Shows what the Raps need to win. A cold-blooded scorer. And yeah, Nick Nurse must have said some offside BS. Yeah, he must have said something that was really bad because he lost them. He did lose them. You can tell in the latest Open Gym that he lost them. All right, you know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to go ahead and all right, I'll do a couple more real quick. Wayne's saying, you're right, Lex. I think the Rockets made their move because our name was associated with Udoka. Happy for them. Grange on Will Lou yesterday was very informative. Yeah, they had to pull the trigger because they saw other people circling around, and they knew because we were open with Nick Nurse gone, they had to move fast. G saying Jerry Stackhouse is now my top choice. I think it might be too mine. Earl is still in there. I'm still unclear about whether Earl would be good for us or not. But I like Jerry to a certain extent. And I think there's getting more buzz around his name as possibly being the replacement for us. We'll be very much looking at this very closely until this gets figured out, who the head coach will be for the Raptors. So MSJ saying, sorry for so many comments to start, but this could be it. This could be it. But could it be that Thad nailed to the bench as well as we all griped? Doughton had something to add, yet Nick Nurse said no. Players must have felt the same as we did. Could very well be. I mean, it was stifling, and it was like such overusage. The starters, I don't even think they enjoyed it too much. Maybe they were feeling like they were a little overworked. Nick really was doing some sabotage on the down low. I think that we couldn't trust him from the middle of the season. And even when David Thorpe said that, and I was like, that man's out of pocket, he may have been exactly right that Masai needed to fire him at that time, and that David Thorpe was being a good friend to Masai because he knew something from the inside that nobody else was talking about, and he was kind of saying it and speculating it. So in some ways, I got to apologize to David Thorpe for raising the alarm earlier in the season. And maybe right around when he said that was when that shit happened. So, yeah, there's a lot of weird, shady shit that happened. Let's see. Ahmet saying, I got off school an hour and a half early. All right, good stuff. Wayne saying, we're not stupid. We figured this shit out by our topsy-turvy play. That's right. We're figuring it out. And as more information comes out, Ahmed's going to be here on the 29th of June. Travel safe and enjoy being in Toronto. Randolph said, good morning, beloved. All right. You know what? I'm going to wait and do Randolph's after the trivia. That'll be a good spot to start over. Let's go ahead and start the trivia. I don't want to go too long. And y'all are going to do all the research on Norman real quick and get all the answers. I don't want y'all to do that yet. So let's get into it. Question number 1, Classic Jurassic Tuesday Trivia. Norman Powell. We're celebrating former Raptor champion Norman Powell. Even though he's sullied our championship in his words recently, we still love you, Norm. And we are proud of you for showing up big in a recent Clippers playoff game and scoring over 40 points. So we're celebrating you in that way. All right, the first question is, as always, y'all, whoever writes it in first will get it. What is Norman Powell's middle name? What is Norman Powell's middle name? Who knows what Norman Powell's middle name is? All right. So it's going to be from Randolph to Cool Cat. That'll be where I start the comments afterwards. I'll come back. What is Norman Powell's middle name, y'all? Ahmet knows it because he looked it up, because nobody would know that. I mean, that's a crazy middle name. It's 2 letters. It's like he's that old-timey actor, W.C. Fields. I wonder if he is named after W.C. Fields. You all know who W.C. Fields is? This is like over 100 years ago. This guy, big fat man with a bulbous nose, kind of a jolly got fat man. Yeah, W.C. Fields. It's like, who? Yeah, that guy, like he was a star in the 1920s. So like 100 years ago. That's why you don't know who he is. But yeah, W.C. Norman W.C. Powell. That's an interesting name. It's very interesting. All right, so Amit got that one. All right, what is Norman Powell's astrological sign? Who knows Norman so well that they know what his sign is? What's your sign, baby? Yeah, do you know what his sign is? Like on the astrology chart? Gemini is right. Shanky is here. I knew Shanky was around. Shanky is one of my favorites. Go Shanky. Yes. Yes. Catch up with David. David said he was here, but I don't see David yet. We'll have to see if David's around. All right. Next question. Get ready. What city and state was Norman Powell born in? What city and state? Put them both. Don't give me half the answer. Put them both in there. What city and state is Norman born in? Where was he born, guys? Where is Mr. Powell born? Portland, Oregon is wrong, MSJ. Uh, uh, all right. This is weird. You got it kind of wrong, and you got it kind of wrong. But you know what? I'm going to give it to Shanky. I'm going to give it to Shanky because Shanky corrected it first. Yeah, San Diego, California is the right answer. Dan Diego. That's probably somebody who lives in San Diego. Dan Diego. But Shanky, you're going to get the points. Just behind Ahmed. You're just behind. And Fiercey, you're just behind also. All right, next question. What is the nickname of Norman Powell's alma mater? What is the nickname of the university he went to? What is their nickname as a team? You know how Michigan Wolverines. What is theirs? Wolverines would be the answer. Bruins is right. MSJ got that one. That one's an easy one because we all know he went to UCLA, just like Earl Watson and Rico Hines and Lou Alcindor. He is a UCLA Bruin. And MSJ's the first one in. Good job. Very, very quick, tight, close answering here. It was going to be who gets in there first. All right. What team and pick was Norman Powell drafted at? Who drafted him and what pick? There's 25 points for both answers. So there's 50 points on this question. You can get those. Who drafted Norm and at what pick? $46. Shanky is on it. This is the performance that I expect from I Am Shanky. This is what Shanky has done all season and trying to catch up to David. Very good job. Number 46 in the second round. Very, very good job in the time since. As a second round pick at number 46, Norman Powell has exceeded where he should have been. And, shame on the Bucks for trading him at draft day to us. And this is why he's the Buck killer. Because the Bucks drafted him, gave up on him too soon. And that's why he always got up and killed the Milwaukee Bucks for us in the playoffs, is because he was drafted by them and they traded him. All right, let's keep going. What subject does Norman Powell have a bachelor's degree in? Norman's got a bachelor's degree from UCLA. What subject is it in? What is his bachelor's in? History is right. Shanky is on it. Shanky is very much on it today. Good job. I Am Shanky. Communications. No, it's history. History. He has a degree in history. What U.S. president was Norman Powell's high school's name? What is the name of his high school? Which president, U.S. president, was the name of his high school that he went to in California? He won state championships in this high school team in California. What is the U.S. president that is the name of his Johnson? No, it's not Johnson. And put the full name if you can, because there's a couple of Johnsons. Lincoln is right. Yep, it's Lincoln. It's Abraham Lincoln. All right, Shanky, you got it. You got it. Shanky is dominating today. This is normal. It is Abraham Lincoln High School. I went to Lincoln High School also. So, but in Florida, in Tallahassee. So yeah, Norman Powell, Lincoln High School, California, state champion, leading his team to the high school state championship. All right, next question. What family member had a heavy, heavy influence on Norman Powell's basketball path? What family member had a heavy, heavy influence on his path? And even give him his name. All right, Amit, it is his uncle. Do you guys know what his name is? It is his uncle. I'm going to give it to Amit because he got in there first. But if anybody can name me his name, I'll give you another 25 points. What is the name of Norman's uncle that gave him that? Raymond Edwards. That's right. Shanky is right. His name is Raymond. Uncle Raymond. He took him to games when he was little and got him interested in basketball. Norm's dad left the family when he was very young, and he didn't really get raised by his father in any kind of way. So his mother was a single mother with his older sisters and him. And his uncle was the father figure in his young life that introduced him to basketball. So it is his uncle Raymond Edwards. Steve tried to answer that as saying Uncle Powell. I said, well, what's his name? He said, Uncle Powell. I said, well, you're wrong because it's his maternal uncle, not his paternal uncle. And he had a last name that was different. Steve tried to be slick. All right, next question. What is Norm's career high as an NBA player for a single game? What is the highest amount of points that he scored in a single game in the NBA in a regular season game? Not in this game recently in the playoffs. What is this high career high? 43 is right. Ahmed is right. 43 is his high score. And he did it for the Toronto Raptors in the 2020-2021 season. I guess that was the bubble, the Tampa season. What did he do it in Tampa season? Yeah, he did in the Tampa season before he was traded. So he did it earlier in the season before we traded him. Yep, 43 is the right answer. Good job, all you guys getting it in there. Ahmed wrote it in 3 times to make sure. Jason Smith's playing. I like to see Jason in here. All right, guys. Good morning, Monique. Good to see you, Monique. March 17th, 2021 was when he did. Okay, so that would have been in bubble season, something like that. Yeah, that would have been the bubble. That would have been the Tampa season. That would have been at the end of the Tampa season. All right, next question. What is UTG? What is UTG? What is UTG? Yeah, Tampa season. You're right. It was Tampa season. What is UTG? What is it? I'm just asking. This is a general question. What is UTG? Understand the grind. That's right, Ahmed. Understand the grind is Norman's statement, personal mantra, his company, his thing, everything he does. He understand the grind, baby. Good job, Ahmed. All right, we get a good little battle between Ahmed and Shanky here. All right, next question. What Raptors media personality is pictured on Norman Powell's Instagram account in an Understand the Grind t-shirt? What Raptors media personality is pictured on Norman Powell's Instagram in an Understand the Grind t-shirt? Who is it? Who is it? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Either you got to go there and look real quick. JYD is not right. That's not right. It's a media personality, not a former player. I would have said former player if it was that. What media personality? Raptors media personality is pictured on Norman Powell's Instagram in an Understand the Grind t-shirt. Is not Jack Armstrong, but that is getting closer to the kind of person it would be. It's over JYD. So, I'm sure Shanky is getting on the Instagram page right now and looking. Matt Devlin is not right. You guys could just keep naming Raptors media personalities and you'll probably get it. You got to think about everybody. Leo, it's not Leo. It's not Leo. You think about everybody who's a part of the Raptors broadcast. There's not just the announcers. There's not just, there's other people that are involved than just the announcers. There's the reporters and maybe the hosts. I mean, Leo's the host. The mascot? No, it's not the mascot. This is good. I knew I would stump y'all with one of my questions, and it's this one. Thank God. It's not the mascot. He's not really a media personality. Randy Irvin? No, it's not Randy. Randy's a better guess. Randy's actually getting closer and closer to who we're talking about. What Raptors media personality is pictured on Norman Powell's Instagram in an Understand the Grind t-shirt? Paul Jones. No, it's not Paul Jones. Kia Nurse. Now we're getting even closer. It's not Kia Nurse. It's not Kia Nurse. But that's getting closer. Savannah Hamilton. Even closer, Jason Smith. You are very, very close, but it's not Savannah. You're very close, though. You guys are getting closer and closer. Kia Nurse to Savannah Hamilton. You're getting even closer. Nameless. Nameless. You got the first name, but Fiercey's got the whole name. It is Kayla Gray. So Fiercey's getting these points because she put in the whole effort of the whole name. It is Kayla Gray. And the picture of her is from this year. So she's wearing his stuff still, and he is putting her on broadcast. So he's, Kayla Gray. It's Kayla Gray, not Kate Burness. No, it's not the redhead. They're not your points, Nameless. I'm sorry. You have to write the whole name. Kayla Gray. I could have been Kayla whoever. You could have meant some sort of weird porn star. No, Kayla Gray is the right answer, and Fiercely Salsera's got it. I know, bro. Come on, man. You can put a protest. You got to do better, man. You can't be half-assed like Giannis. You got to be full out like Jim, eat buckets. All right. All right. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I know you're probably cussing in Italian or something at me right now. It's all good, man. It's just a game. Chill, bro. Chill. All right. All right. The next question is a question for Raymond Jacob. Now, you guys need to know she spelled it wrong. No, she spelled it right. She spelled it right. She spelled it exactly right. She spelled it exactly right. All right. No more dissent. Fiercely Salsera got the last points. That's just how it is, y'all. All right. It's with an E. It's actually with an E. It's not with an A. It's with an E. I know it is, Ahmed. It's with an E. I've seen it. I looked at it last night. I wrote it the right way. It is Kayla Gray with a Grey, not with an A. It doesn't matter anyway. We're arguing a dumb point. It doesn't matter. All right, okay, let's go. How much money has Norman made in NBA contracts over his whole entire career? How much money? All right, and we're going to do that high-low until somebody gets it, and I want it rounded to the nearest million. So how much money has Norman made his whole entire career in the NBA so far? You guys may be surprised. 45 million is too low. 49 is right. Shanky is going to get it. It is $49 million. That seems so low, doesn't it? Considering how long he's been in the league. But you got to realize when he played for the Raptors, he was on very cheap contracts. In fact, he was making less than $1 million a year in his first couple years on the Raptors, and that we paid him his first big contract. And then he got an even bigger contract since he left. But yeah, he's only made $49 million total his whole entire 7-year career so far. I mean, that's nothing to laugh at, but still, that's pretty incredible considering some of the numbers we've seen with some of the other players that we've done on this trivia over the last year. Some of these guys have made like 250 million, and Norman's got a 49 million. That's okay. Yeah. You looked at net worth. Yeah. I don't know what the net worth is. I'm talking about just the contract totals for his whole career. And Shanky's got that number. All right. Next question is, how much money does a t-shirt, Understand the Grind t-shirt from his website cost? How much does an Understand the Grind t-shirt cost on his website, guys? Do you guys know the price? Let's see. This is another money question. How much does a t-shirt cost on his website? $29.99 is right. Shanky is really good at looking stuff up quick or finding it really fast. That's right. It's $30 pretty much to get a t-shirt on Norman's website. So there you go. Shanky's quick, and I like how Shanky is very thorough. $29.99. Shanky is. I'm telling you, Peter's not here. I mean, David's not here. Shanky, you can close the gap a little bit and make this maybe interesting before the end of the season, before the championship is decided. You have a chance every Tuesday to continue to close that gap with David. And if David does not keep showing up, ooh, maybe David's here watching. He's like, I don't care. I'm crazy. All right, let's keep going. It's tough. This is tough. This is tough trivia. MSJ, this is advanced Raptors trivia. This is not messing around. This is not messing around kind of stuff. All right, next question. What city was Norman Powell in when a crazy woman attacked him in a gym last summer? What city was he in when he was attacked by a crazy woman in a gym last year? This happened last summer, and he's working out in a gym, and some woman came up to him and started yelling at him for some reason. I think she was racist. And she was yelling at him because he's a black guy. Miami is wrong, MSJ. Let's see. Monique, write the whole thing, Monique. Come on now. Vegas, that's not a word, Ahmed. Portland is wrong. Vegas is right. I'll give it to Ahmed. Ahmed's going to get it. It is Vegas. It's not L.A. It's not L.A., Monique. If you're saying Los Angeles, it's Las Vegas. It was Las Vegas was the city that this woman came up to him and got in his face. And she got arrested. It was crazy. It was very crazy. Las Vegas. Yes, Ahmed. Very good. All right, 4 more questions, y'all, and then we'll be done with the trivia for today on Norman Powell, celebrating our champion, Norman. He's there in the picture in the back there. You see him just above Drake with the championship, Larry O'Brien. He's on my shirt. There he is right there, too. All right, let's go. Which of Norman's social media accounts have the most followers? What social media of his has the most followers? Out of all of his social media accounts, which one of them has the most followers? Insta. Yep, Insta's right. Ahmed's on it. It is his Instagram account has the most followers. Now, I noticed when I was looking at his numbers They said that he had 30,000, 33,000 Instagram followers. But when I went and looked at how many, he's got 3,000 less. So I wonder if he lost some Raptors followers because of some of his statements recently about our championship, because his number was lower than the one that they said it was like 2 years ago. So yeah, he might have lost some followers just because he was speaking out of pocket on the Raptors championship. And he may have noticed that too. And he'd be like, oh shit, I lost some followers after I said that. That's what happens, Nor. You can't be disrespecting our championship, especially when you were a part of it. It doesn't serve you, man. You lose followers on Instagram. So yeah, it's his Instagram for sure. It's his Instagram. All right, 3 more questions. What activity was Norman Powell seen doing outside in Orlando during the bubble? He was shown on Open Gym doing an activity outside. What was he doing during the bubble outside? Fishing is right. Ahmed remembers that. He was out there fishing in Orlando on the deck. He was fishing. That's right. That was cool. Yeah, Ahmed's first in there. Shanky, you're right behind. Very close. Even though you misspelled it, I knew what he was saying. Yeah, I remember that too. It was pretty good. All right, 2 more questions, and then we out. And we'll do a little bit more talking afterwards, catch up on all your comments. Who has played the most games as a teammate with Norman Powell in his career? Who do you think has played the very most games beside him as a teammate over his whole entire career? Siakam? Siakam's wrong. Lowry. Lowry is right. MSJ is getting that one. It is Kyle Lowry. He played the most games next to Kyle Lowry over his whole entire career. It's Lowry. It's right. Lowry's right. It makes sense because Lowry was there when he showed up. Fred wasn't there right away. I mean, Fred and him played a lot, but it's Lowry. It's definitely Lowry. All right, the last question is the opposite. Who has played the most games as an opponent against Norman Powell in his career? Who has played the most games against him as an opponent? Now, Shanky, if you go find this and you just put it up there, I will probably know. Giannis is wrong. Embiid is wrong also. In some ways, you got to think about this. Norman has played in the Eastern and Western Conference. And it's really somebody who's played in the Eastern and Western Conference around the same time as him on both ends, because that would make the most sense. If he played a lot of his career here in Toronto, it'd be somebody who played in the East then, and then he got traded to Portland and played for the Clippers. Then it's somebody who's in the West at that time. So it's got to be somebody who kind of moved with him. Butler is wrong. Durant is wrong. I'm going to enjoy this. I may give you guys some clues. If you really have a hard time. Shanky, you can go look it up or not? I don't want you to do it for sure. LeBron? That's a good guess, Wayne. It's not LeBron. You know what? Let me see if I can give you a good guess. I think if I tell you the teams that he was on, it'd probably give it away. Kyrie? No, it's not Kyrie. You got to think about the timing. They can't have just came to the West recently. Russell's a better answer. Russell's not bad, but Russell kind of always played out West, although he did play a little bit in Washington. I guess you're right. It's not Russell. This is gonna be tough. I might have this. I kind of love this question because it's so open-ended and kind of weird, and it's a real brain twister in some ways. Let's see. What would be a good clue? This person had a very important night in Toronto at our All-Star weekend. Let's put it that way. How about that? This person had a very important night at our All-Star weekend. We hosted the All-Star weekend here in Toronto. They had a very important night. And it didn't really go exactly how they wanted. Sabonis is wrong, but that's good thinking, MSJ. That's the kind of thinking that is that kind of path, Indiana to Sacramento, kind of that kind of thing. Kobe, no, come on. It's not Kobe Bryant. Boogie, what do you mean? DeMarcus Cousins? Fuck that. Man, no, it's not DeMarcus Cousins. It's definitely not Alvin Williams. It's not Anthony Davis. It's not AD. No. Think about my clue. They had a big weekend here at the All-Star weekend when we had the All-Star weekend here, but not. He kind of had a bad weekend too. John Wall is wrong. John Wall is wrong. I don't want to give this away. Isaiah Thomas, no. Snoop Dogg, no. Think about our All-Star weekend. Who was really having a good weekend that weekend? What was the very important event that happened at that All-Star weekend that everybody talks about still from our Toronto weekend? What was the thing that everybody still talks about Toronto All-Star weekend? And who were the 2 people involved in that? And who was the one who didn't win? How about that? Here, I just gave it away right there. Paul George is wrong. Carmelo is wrong. Terrence Ross is wrong. I just gave the right clue. Think about our All-Star weekend. That's very important. You got to think about the Toronto Raptors All-Star weekend that we had. I think it was in 2016 or something like that. And think about the most important event that weekend, the one that got all the attention, the one that people said may have been the best one in a long time. And think about who was in that and who lost. How about that? That'll tell you exactly who it is. Klay Thompson's wrong. You're thinking 3-point shootout? No. Was that the most important event that weekend? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Aaron Gordon is exactly right. Shanky, it is Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon has played the most games against Norman Powell because he was on Orlando for most of the time when he was on Toronto, and then he went to Denver around the same time when Norman went to Portland. So it's Aaron Gordon. That's right. It's exactly Aaron Gordon. That's right. And of course, it's the dunk competition from Toronto. When he played it, he went against Zach LaVine and he lost just barely. It was so close. They could have made it like a tie, and nobody would have gotten upset. But they had to have a winner, and Aaron Gordon got screwed. So yeah, Aaron Gordon is the last answer. Good job, Shanky. And you know what? I have a feeling that you didn't look that up. You got it from my clues, and I appreciate you for doing it that way. I really do. All right. Well, after I'm done, I'll add up all the totals and I'll post the new results of the standings for the Raptors Freak Tuesday Trivia in the comments and after the stream in about like 20 minutes or so afterwards. So let me just go back and just check on the comments from before the trivia and read through them real quick. We're at Randolph Phillips. Good morning, beloved Raptor Freaks and most informative gang. I like Mark Jackson as our next coach. This guy deserves a chance to coach again in the NBA. That's not a bad name, honestly. I like Mark Jackson too. There's things about him that I really like. One of them is he's a former Raptor. So it'd be cool to have a former player who played for the Raptors as our coach. We've never had that. We have not had that happen yet. So it'd be kind of cool. And he is somebody that we've talked about having as our coach before. Like before, I can remember Mark Jackson's name was talked about even like 10 years ago. He did get a bad thing happen to him because basically he was the Golden State coach and he got canned for Steve Kerr. And in some ways, it wasn't totally fair. He hasn't really gotten many chances since. And he's a very good TV personality. I like this idea too. He definitely have respect around the league. Now, I don't know. It's weird that he hasn't gotten any coaching jobs since that job with Golden State. And it's kind of weird. That's kind of a tell that maybe he isn't that sought after or attractive as a coaching candidate. But I like you brought him up, and I wouldn't be opposed to this because I know that he's got great court vision as a point guard from St. John's, and the way that he played for the Knicks and the Raptors in his play career, he is really good. And the Pacers too. He was going to the finals and doing all kinds of high level basketball stuff. So he's definitely got the respect, and he's definitely got the ideas. So I like that you brought him up, and maybe I'll bring him up more and maybe I'll put him on the list in the place of Ime Udoka now that he's off the table. Nameless saying with Udoka out, I'm feeling stronger and stronger. It's going to be Earl. Ime was really the perfect match. So yeah, Nameless was really happy that I started to talk about him more and like wanting to. It's so funny. I start talking up Ime, and then boom, Houston goes and steals him. I was really very much favoring Earl Watson early. And then I was doing the research. I was like, man, Udoka would be something else. In fact, Magic Johnson's come out on his Twitter and saying that the Houston Rockets have got a championship caliber coach on their team. And congratulations to them getting Ime Udoka as their coach. So he's got the seal of approval of Irvin Johnson. So, yeah, that's interesting. I bet you Irvin wishes he was coaching the Lakers. Amit's saying it's Remembrance Day here. So we have like festivals here. So I'm kind of excited. I wish we got Andrew Nembhard last year. Pacers snatched him first, though. He was on my list of players that I would have liked to have gotten, but it's like the whole hometown kind of like pressure kind of thing is tough. I wanted to get him partly also because of his connection with Scotty. Or no, Caleb Houston's the one with Scotty. Caleb Houston went to Montverde Academy with Scotty, and they're very close. And he was the one that I wanted to get but he went to Orlando. He was picked right before Koloko. Now, Nembhard was a little bit earlier, I think. So I don't know if we had a realistic chance at him. Nako's saying, I'm for Mutombo or Earl. Well, Earl will have more clout with the refs than Mutombo. Mutombo will be like this kind of ref where he will not get any respect. It will be very tough for him. First, he'll have to earn the players' respect, which isn't as easy as you think. And then he's going to have to earn the referee's respect. And that's a whole tall hill to climb. In some ways, I'm out on Mutombo just because I know nobody's going to respect his ass right away, and I want somebody that comes in with instant respect. And Earl will get that. Mark Jackson will get that, and so will Jerry Stackhouse. And it's really because they played. They played in the league. Let's see. Amit saying Heat are probably going to win. To be honest, yeah, they've got Milwaukee in a really bad place. They've got to win 3, and they've only got to win 1. You got Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry in that situation. Yeah. Milwaukee's fucked. Giannis's injury has really screwed them up, and it's crazy because look at the season they had. Look at how much they won. Look at how dominant they were all season. How they coasted, and if they go out in the first round of the Heat, well, that's the NBA script writing to try and get the Celtics to the finals. Because the Bucks would have been the biggest problem for them getting to the finals if they were still going to stick around. But if they're not, it's opening things up wide open for Boston. Trevor's saying, good morning. What are we interested in playoff? Miami's taken down Milwaukee, and the Lakers taking down the Grizzlies. So I think tonight Cleveland is going home. Also, Atlanta is going home. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Cleveland's playing tonight. They'll be tomorrow. But yeah, there's very well could be the night that the Celtics put the Hawks out of the playoffs. I could also see Denver putting out Minnesota. And we'll have to see that battle in Phoenix with the Clippers. That could be pretty close. And I could see them, if they're going to extend any of those series, the referees, I'll bet you they'll extend the star-studded Clippers-Suns series over the other two. And I'm going to guess tonight that Boston closes out Atlanta, Minnesota goes out to Denver, and that they allow the Clippers to win another one tonight, even if Kawhi doesn't play tonight. And they extend the series a little bit longer with the Suns. So that's my predictions for tonight. I'm going to say Boston, Denver, and the Clippers are going to win tonight. There you go. All right, let's keep going. All right, where was I? Okay, that went up, so I'm going to go down. Cool Cat's here. Or wait, let me see. First, Nako's saying in those shots Jimmy were making, they were not easy shots. No, he was balling. He was balling. As he said, he's like not in a playoff mode. He's just playing. He's just playing how he plays. Amit saying, I wouldn't be so surprised if Edwards and LaMelo request a trade soon. Who knows? I think that Minnesota is going to try and deal Rudy Gobert this summer right away. Like they don't want him around. They realize how much they fucked up getting him last summer. And they're probably going to try and trade him away and keep the other guys. Although I'm hearing news about Cat being on the trade market this summer too. Minnesota's all screwed up at this point. They really, really are. They're really, really screwed up. That's what happens when you get Rudy Gobert. And I don't know what's going to happen with them, where they're going to go, or which guys are going to go and leave, or which ones are going to stay. If I was them, I'd try to get rid of Gobert and keep Edwards and Cat. But the way it's sounding, it sounds like they're looking at trading Cat, because I'm hearing Cat trade rumors. And Edwards, if he wants to leave, that's not the one they want to leave. He's the one they want to stay. Cool Cat's saying, "Good morning, Raptor Freak crew. Lots going on. Yeah, lots happened yesterday. That's for sure." All right, let me get back down to the bottom since we got to there. Let's see. Monique's saying, I still feel good about Earl Watson. Yeah, I do too. I mean, I don't mind it. All right, the one thing I won't like is if any of this problems that happen on this team are partly because Earl kind of cultivated it or something like that, because he knew the writing was on the wall, and that if Nick was going to leave, then he could position himself in a personally in a good place. I wouldn't like that. Like in some ways, I don't want like the kind of a mutiny on the team from the coaches against the head coach, and then it causes more of the problems. I have no idea exactly how it went down. Now, if in the players' court, that's what matters. It's like, what do the players think? Who was at fault with this season? And it seems like they think Nick Nurse was at fault for something. One of the things that was said in the open gym from yesterday that's very telling is what Chris said. Chris Boucher said that this year was very surprising, and they weren't good surprises. In fact, I'm really surprised what happened. That's what Chris basically said. And it's alluding that like there were events that happened this year that were shocking and that were not good, and that they were really kind of like they had to work around them or work through them. And I hate that. I hate that. Like, it totally makes sense why they were going through the motions, or maybe not totally bought in. that maybe some of their gumption on the court was very personally derived just from personal pride and being a professional and not necessarily going for the team goal for everybody because of the issues with what's happening with the team internally with what was going on. Oh man, what a bad season. Well, you find out if things aren't running right on the inside, if things are decayed or not working right on the inside, you get the result that you did this season. You get a very confusing season. Like, why the fuck aren't they better? They should be way better than this because they're way more talented than this. And we know now. So hopefully, a lot of the weirdness around the team will go away, and all of a sudden they'll be more functional. Like that's the thing. If I'm learned anything about this season and what's happened is, if things aren't functional behind the scenes, then they won't be functional on the court. And if we can get things functional behind the scenes again, we should be functional on the court again. Is kind of how I'm looking at it right now. Ahmet saying, okay, got to order food. I'll be back soon if you're still live. All right, Ahmet. Monique saying, I'm happy we didn't get Adoka, to be honest. Yeah, in some ways I am too. I mean, it was flashy, it was attractive, and it could have been something interesting. But in some ways, this makes more sense. It's really kind of like screwing over both the Raptors and Nick Nurse, because in some ways that was a good place for Nick to land. But now it's like, what? Nick's not going to go to Detroit, I don't think. You think Dwayne Casey's going to hire Nick Nurse? No. Now, where is he going to go then? Is this going to be a weird thing where the Lakers, if they don't win the championship with Darvin Ham, that they're going to fire Darvin Ham and they're going to turn around and hire Nick Nurse immediately? Some people have said, is Nick Nurse going to be the next coach of the Dallas Mavericks? Could Nick Nurse be the replacement for Chris Finch in Minnesota? If Minnesota loses tonight and they're out against Denver, will they fire Chris Finch this summer and they replace him with Nick Nurse? That could be something that happens. Crazy. Who knows? It could be that Nick's had so many personal issues this past year that he needs some time away and he's not going to be coaching anybody next season. These are all plausible, possible scenarios that happen from this, because just as long as there ain't no Eastern Conference team trying to dump a coach to get Nick Nurse all of a sudden, yeah, just don't be doing that. I don't want to see that. MSJ saying Adrian Griffin is in the news as being interviewed. What can you say about him, Lex? Well, he's a doctorate in sports leadership, just like Nick Nurse. So we fire a doctor of basketball, and now we want to keep the one we have still on staff. I like that they told us that he's being retained for interview to be possibly our head coach, because in some ways it wasn't clear where he was in the whole picture of the coaching staff. He part of that staff. They were like, no, we don't want to talk to you. You can go with him. Like Nate Bjorngren's probably like that. But Adrian Griffin is not, and I'm glad that the team has announced that he is being kept in an interview to possibly be the head coach. I think he'd be a good, smart, smooth transition as far as the players really know him, and he really knows the players. He's been around for a while. This would really be just like hiring Nick Nurse after Dwayne Casey. And, in some ways, Adrian may be a better players coach, but in some ways, maybe more stern. His background and his coaching, he's varied. He has been an assistant under many different head coaches, not just Nick Nurse and Dwayne Casey. And he is very learned in certain ways. He's definitely, because of being a former player, that he can relate in certain ways with them. And I think that he does really well with them. Now, the one thing I worry about with him is his back. Last year at the coaches open practice, that man's back was all messed up and he needed help getting up out of his seat. So I just want Adrian Griffin to be okay physically. If he's going to be our coach, can he get up and down and do all the travel and stuff? We're the same age, him and I. And he's just slightly younger than me, actually. I think he'd be pretty good. In some ways, he's a defensive-minded coach, and that's good. But we just need somebody who's going to inspire them and hold them accountable. And if he can be a more tough coach, discipline-wise than Nick, that'll be an improvement. We just need somebody to hold their feet to the fire and just get better results from them and say, look, you guys got to play your ass off and just be the best you can be. So I don't mind it. I mean, it's a safe choice in some ways, but it's also, you worry about too much of the same carrying over from last year. But if Nick was the problem as a personality, well, this in a way keeps the status quo without the problem of the personality. So Monique saying Chris Boucher was so positive in the finale of Open Gym and everyone, but it's still tough. The locker room sadness hit me on open gym. Not that very last part with Nick saying, "Come on in, guys," and nobody would come in and like do that with him. And that's the very last time he'll do that in that dressing room with that team. That is sad. Listen, the thing about with Nick is like, look, we can be like dumping on him and saying he's the scapegoat for the season, but he's still a human being. And he has a lot of emotional ties to our city and our team. And this is tough. Like, this is like breaking up with a very, very steady girlfriend that you've been with for 10 years. So he's a little bit going through that kind of stuff right now. Everybody thinks, oh, yeah, in some ways he can look forward to a big cash payday that Clutch is probably going to help him navigate to. In some ways, that'll make him feel better. But that's the classic thing. It's like, what is going to buy you happiness? Is it love and true love and passion and happiness of where you were? Or is it going to be selling out and getting all that money? It's that classic case of like, yeah, is the money going to make you feel better, Nick? Because it's sad. It's sad. In some ways, he probably envisioned being our Spoelstra, being our Kerr, being our Popovich. And Clutch totally fucked that all up by getting in his head and getting him act stupid and having this season be all fucked up. So it's sad, but it's true. And in some ways, he's dealing with the breakup part right now. And it's got to suck. I mean, I go and look at his Instagram page and it says head coach of the Team Canada, but it doesn't say anything about the Raptors on there anymore. And it's depressing. And seeing that last open gym, the last parts with Nick Nurse around, it's just depressing and it's sad. And it doesn't really fit or jive with his whole career with us and the excellence and the proud and the toughness and the guys all being behind him. It just looks so stark in contrast to those other days. The days at the end of the season look so bad as far as him and the players are not listening to him. I didn't want to believe that because it seemed like they were still putting a good effort out on the court. And it still seemed like they were trying. But in some ways, you can tell that they were half-assing it and they weren't giving the whole effort like they normally would if they were bought in. And it was really what they were doing was being professional and showing up. All right, let's keep going. Fiercely saying, you know what? Now that Nurse is gone, there will be other changes for sure, coaching staff and roster, and it'll allow us to fresh start and find pieces fitting our culture and who wants to be here. Yeah, that's totally true, Fiercely. And listen, I'm sure there's going to be some more changes. I'm sure there will be. There always is in the offseason, at least a few just like secondary changes and stuff like that. We'll have to see how big the changes are. They may be little small ones, and then everybody will be upset with Masai because he didn't do enough to overhaul the roster. But I'll be okay with it because I want to see as much retention as possible and just improve the results because we have better leadership and direction. Wayne Strainer saying Nick Nurse not being picked up after a week and is a short time, but it's still saying a lot. Our coaching situation is going to be our main content, Lex. Nick Nurse was the problem. We just outgrew him. Yeah. I mean, I think some ways, all right, part of this whole coaching situation with us and Detroit and other teams is the playoffs. The playoffs have to be sussed out. In fact, as soon as tonight, we could see a couple more teams eliminated from the playoffs. And this is really what's going to suss this more out more and more. It's like we got to get deeper in the playoffs and see more teams go out and see if some of these teams in the playoffs fire their coaches. And then some of the vacancies open up. It could very well be the Lakers get to like the second round and then they lose next round and they fire Darvin Ham. And then all of a sudden they're looking at Nick Nurse then. So in some ways, the weight on the coaching search is because these teams are competitive and they're still out there. And so that's we're going to have to see what happens as teams go out of the playoffs, if anybody's firing their coach. And then those may be places where Nick Nurse might land. But like I said, it could very well be that Nick's burnt out after 10 years and he needs 1 year off and he doesn't even want to coach anywhere. And then maybe next year he'll be a very sought after coaching candidate for teams at that point. I don't know. You can never tell with these kind of things. It could be that he thought he was going to get that Houston job and Houston screwed him over. And in some ways he's in limbo just like we are, partly because Ime Udoka went to Houston. But I think we'll be fine. We've got a lot of choices. Nick, on the other hand, there's not that many jobs out there. And that somebody's going to have to open a job for him if they really, really want him. And I could see that. I could see somebody firing their coach just to hire Nick Nurse. So we'll have to see. Let's see what else you guys are saying this morning. Monique's saying Griffin was my top 3 head coaching jobs. Good luck, Adrian Griffin. He's one of your top 3 for the head coaching job also. Yeah, he's not as flashy and attractive to me but he's safe. He's safe in some ways. I'd much rather go with Earl just because he seems like he's more creative and different, and because he's younger a little bit. In some ways, he's maybe a little bit different than Adrian. Adrian, man, he's probably great, and we saw him do a really good job filling in for Nick when he was in leave of absence this season, and he's done that before. And plus, he's got his doctorate in sports leadership, and he's been around a long time. Now, I feel like in some ways, Adrian Griffin really is highly sought after by Casey and the Pistons. And I keep predicting he's going to be their coach instead. But we'll see. Maybe we get the first crack at it. And he probably won't take the job with Detroit until he knows for sure that he can't have the job here in Toronto. Because I'll bet you he wants the job here in Toronto, Adrian. But he will go to Detroit if he doesn't get the job here, obviously. So we'll have to see. Canadian Cowboy is saying, good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Hope all is well. I think Maria. You think Maria? Bam, 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 bam. You think Maria? What do you mean? I think Maria. Let me know, Bradley. Jake Caesar's here. Good to see Jake. Do you think Jamal McGlure is going to be back? Yeah, he'll be back. You know what? He's untouchable by coaching regimes because he comes with the city. That is Toronto's NBA pro, Jamal McGlure, community ambassador that comes out, and he's just a part of the city, and he's from here. In some ways, he's like Wayne Embry. He's somebody that's just kind of be around our team no matter what, and it doesn't matter who's in charge. Wayne Embry's been here with Brian Colangelo and Masai Ujiri, and in some ways, that's kind of what McGlure is like. He's like a culture guy for our city, and because he lives here and because it's just a part of the lifestyle, yeah, I think Jamal McGlure will still be on our coaching staff next season because in some ways he's not tied to Nick Nurse or Dwayne Casey or any of the people that he's worked under since he's been here because he is a city and he's Toronto man. And I'm pretty sure McGlure will be back. If he isn't, that'll be interesting and weird, but I don't see why he wouldn't be. Because in some ways, he's not like he was Nick Nurse's guy. He's been on our team since I think even before Dwayne Casey. So he's been around since like the late 2000s, and I don't think that'll change because he's that kind of guy. Fun Guy's here. Good to see Fun Guy. I'm seeing some Jamal hype, but I'm still for Patrick or Stackhouse, and honestly, that's it for me. Any other than those three will be interesting if a coach gets fired soon. Okay, so Fun Guy, I don't think Jamal McGlure is a good head coach. He's never really practiced, like his coaching, what he does is very much like community stuff, player stuff. One of his biggest roles on this team is as a big man kind of like guy in practice. If they need an extra guy, because he has such good experience as an NBA big man in his career for the Heat and the Charlotte Hornets and the Raptors. He's an all-star. He's really good in practice at doing the big stuff with like Pirtle and Koloko and those guys and having a big body to play against in practice. So in some ways, that's his role. His role is also just kind of being a big body security guy on the bench. If like people are fucking with us in away arenas, there's also, just like being a good team kind of energy kind of guy and a personality. It's not as much his is in depth X's and O's. Like I'm a bench coach sitting next to everyone. It's more he's a practice coach and a community ambassador kind of coach. And I don't know necessarily if he's kind of like a head coach material, just so y'all know. But as far as like Stackhouse, I love Stackhouse. I think Stackhouse may be my number one, just like other people are saying right now. If it's not him, it's Earl. Those are the two. I'm not as big on Jama and Patrick. I really am not. And it's really just because they have no respect around the league. Jama Mahalea is maybe a smart, intelligent, amazing development coach. Really, really good under Steve Kerr, learning stuff. But nobody's going to know who the fuck he is. And they're going to treat him like that. He'll be treated like a doormat, just like Jay Triano was when he was our coach. And we don't want that. If we want to be in the competitive East, competing with the top teams, we need a name coach or a coach that has some sort of clout already with Tony Brothers, Scott Foster, Ed Malloy, and those guys. And Jama and Patrick Mutombo will not have that. And that's why we, in some ways, don't want to get those guys. It's much safer to get Adrian Griffin, Jerry Stackhouse, or Earl Watson, because those guys will have that kind of clout with the referees from having way more experience dealing with them than those other two guys. And that's the biggest difference between those 905 coaches and Jerry Stackhouse. Jerry Stackhouse played in the NBA for 18 years. He played with Michael Jordan on the Wizards. He played with the Sixers and Allen Iverson. He has very, very, very good experience, and he is very familiar with all the referees in the league for the most part. So, all right, let's keep going. Leslie saying, "Good morning, Raptor Freak family. MA is out, so who do we think? Jerry or Earl is looking more likely? Jerry. Who's Jerry? Jerry? Who do you mean by Jerry? I don't even know who Jerry is. Earl, yeah, I like Earl. I like Earl. Oh, Jerry Stackhouse, duh. Jerry or Earl is looking more likely. Yeah, those are my two favorite candidates right now. I also kind of on the outside like Charles Lee. Charles Lee is intriguing to me. Charles Lee, for some reason, is very intriguing to me. There's something about him that makes me wonder if we weren't going to get Eme Adoka, Charles Lee may be the next guy that's like Eme Adoka out of everybody, because the buzz around him and the things about him are very, very attractive in certain ways. Fun guy saying Nick lost out on 8 million though. I think he's definitely looking to get a job ASAP. Yes and no. Honestly, listen, everybody worries about money so much, but in some ways, there's some things that are bigger than money, and they may be your sanity and your mental health and your family. And it may be that he's in a troubled place with his family and something, because that's what Masai said. And it seemed like that may have been extra stuff bugging him on the outside, other than team stuff that was making more pressure for him from family issues. And that in some ways, sometimes you need to take time away to take care of those other issues before you jump into another like boiling pot of like pressure as far as things. And I think that the way Nick's body language, the way he's acting, he's a little burnt out. And I could possibly see him taking 1 year off and then putting his name back into candidates things, especially if the jobs aren't that open in this off season. It could very well be there's limited jobs. And he's just like, you know what? I'm not just going to take any job that's offered to me because I want it to be the right job, and it may be easier next season. But of course, he's not going to decide any of this until the playoffs are over and we see what vacancies are actually opening up. So I don't know. I'm getting the feeling that Nick's a little bit burnt out and he may need some time off. I mean, motherfucker's got so much money already. He can make that 10 million next summer. It's not going to be a big problem if he takes 1 year off and he doesn't work. Goes and plays guitar and reads more for a while. Wayne saying, I'm with that speculation. Ham is let go. And with the clutch LeBron connection, he's in LA. I totally see that. Yeah. I mean, LeBron would love that. I'm sure he'd love to have Nick Nurse coaching him. And in some ways, it makes total sense. And in some ways, it'll make me cry collusion to the fucking highest peaks and mountains of this earth. Collusion. That it will look so dirty that his representation is owned by LeBron James and that this was manipulated into this way. In fact, if there's any, like, they may try and get away with this against the Raptors because we're the Canadian team and we've been slighted in certain ways. But I'd want an investigation about all this and the way this season went this year. If this is the turn of events that happens, that Nick Nurse goes and starts coaching the Lakers, because there's so many personal issues that make it so convoluted and like like it's not fair. Like it's very much like senators trading stocks on tips that they know ahead of time. It's very much that kind of shit. And yeah, it'll look real fishy if Nick Nurse is the coach of the Lakers next season. Fun guy saying Adrian just doesn't strike me as a head coaching type. Unfortunately, great guy, but not someone I'd hire to be our next coach. I prefer Earl for sure. I think Fun guy's getting at something is called fire, is passion. And in some ways, I worry about Adrian Griffin being a little too kind of like easygoing and kind of like, I want to see somebody get angry. I want to see somebody have some fire like Nick Nurse has shown at times. That is important in a head coaching job. If you want to get things done in the court with the referees and things or motivating your players, you need to be a little bit of spitfire, a little bit of a crazy, like I'm like animated kind of guy. And in some ways, I worry about Adrian's laid back kind of vibe to him, not being able to be that kind of like passionate, like jumping up and down and getting crazy and like yelling. And, in some ways you really need that as a head coach. You can't be kind of like an easygoing, like passive kind of guy who's like, no, okay, all right, fine. That's how it is. Fine. Whatever. Let it be that way. And I see Earl more of having that fire in him too. I definitely see that, the difference in those ways, but who knows? We'll have to see. This is why Masai is going to interview these guys and see if they're good for the job. Fun guy saying, oh, no, bro, not that Jamal. The light-skinned Jamal, who's this? His name's Jama. There's Jama and Jamal. The difference is there's an L. So if you're gonna say Jama, put Jama. Don't put Jamal. Because yeah, Jama. It's Jama. I'm like I said, Jama may be really good. Like he may be really smart. He may really know his shit, but he just doesn't have clout. And Charles Lee will have the same issue too. That's something I need to note also. Is Charles Lee's probably not going to get respect either. Cowboys saying, sorry, push send, but it was saying Masai. I think before he made the move, he knew who the coach already. Got to go. Much respect to Lex and the Raptor Freaks. Let's go, Raps and Maple Leafs. Let's go, y'all. You think that Masai already knows who the coach is going to be? Well, if he does, that's good. But I don't know if he knows. It could very well be that he was kind of depending on Udoka possibly, but maybe not. You may be right, Bradley. We don't know. Trusting in Masai, he's going to make the right decision. We're going to have a good coach this summer. Smooth saying, how about Chris Quinn? I've talked about Chris Quinn a little bit. He really is a Spoelstra disciple. He very much cut in the same cookie cutter as Spoelstra. So if we want that kind of coach like Eric Spoelstra, then Chris Quinn is the next thing. In some ways, also, you take away from the brain trust of the Miami Heat. That's part of the reason why Charles Lee is smart to get, because you kind of make Milwaukee have less of a coaching staff themselves. Milwaukee fans are crying out after last night's loss to Miami that they want to fire Coach Bud and hire Nick Nurse. Did you know that there's a whole bunch of Bucks fans on Twitter talking about how if Coach Bud loses to Miami in the first round, they want to fire him and they want to hire Nick Nurse and replace him there. It's crazy. I mean, it's really crazy. It really is. What have you done for me lately? I'm not totally against Chris Quinn, but I think he'd be another one that may have problems getting respect with the referees and around the league. Wayne saying, does Coach Joe from Boston have the respect of the referees, or is the league in general? All right, this is a good example. Now, this is something that's a little different. Coach Joe gets respect because of the team he coaches. It's not necessarily who he is or what he was. He's a rookie coach. And in some ways, I saw early on in the league, in the season this year, he wasn't getting respected by the referees. He wasn't getting respect in certain ways, but he gained it more and more as the season went on. Now, part of it is he's ingratiated to get respect, obviously, because they're going to try and do nice things for the Celtics. It's really because of the team he coaches. If he was our coach, he wouldn't get any respect, trust me. And that's part of why we need to really think about the factor of respect, because the Raptors don't get respect in general, and a coach can add to helping us get respect because of who they are. It's much better for us to get a known, good, respected coach than a nobody that has no respect either, because then they're doubling down. Okay, it's Toronto and this is a nobody. We're really not going to respect them. So that's part of the reason why I'm saying the respect factor with the referees is so important. Now, they can hire Joe and they'll be fine because it's the Celtics and they get respect because it's built into the NBA. But with us, it'd be different. It'd be very different. It's too bad. Let's see. Monique saying, Brian Winders says we have a coach, but we don't know who. Ooh, everybody's speculating that Masai already knows who our coach is. We just haven't announced it. In some ways, Masai and Bobby need to play the schedule of power, or the timing. The schedule of timing needs to be smart. In some ways, Houston is showing their hand because they needed to get this guy before we got him for sure. So they went ahead and did it. But in some ways, Houston is taking themselves out of the market for what possibly could open up still in different ways for opportunities as far as the coach. So sometimes waiting and kind of seeing how things go play out a little bit can be a point of strength. And I think that that's part of what Masai is doing right now. He may very well have his idea of who his number one person is and who he wants, but he's also kind of taking time to see how things develop with the playoffs and coaching situations and what may actually develop in the next couple weeks because of teams going out. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. And I think I think that Masai is going to do this right. And he's very much using his advantages in timing the way that he needs to. And that's why it's going to take a little while. Isaac Campbell saying Tom Duke for coach. Yes, Tom Duke. Tom Dukey. He could be the next coach of the Toronto Raptors. I'm all right with that. I think Tom would be good. It'd be awesome. We miss you, Tom. I know Tom's taking time off. I mean, listen, this is a long haul and stuff like that. I understand. A lot of the regulars are not here right now. because it's the end of the season. They want some time off, but I appreciate everybody who is still here. Y'all are real diehards. You won't want to take any time off. Talking Raptors every morning with me. You go, guys. But I know at some point you may want to take a break too. So I don't sully anybody. We miss you, Tom. We miss you, Tom, and your great emoji food. MSJ saying that Nick Nurse departure is tough. No doubt. But it really sounds that it was all headed in the wrong direction. If Clutch Sports messed his mind, who knows? Yet it also seems as if the players were put off too. What if this is the whole thing about the selfishness? It had nothing to do with the players. The selfishness had to do with Nick and his his coaching contract for next year, and also Clutch being in his ear and telling him weird things. What if the selfishness was with Nick? It's not even about Fred and his personal stuff or Pascal or anything like that. It was a Nick Nurse selfishness on the down low. Because in some ways it seems like it. I don't know. There was some really weird shit happening this year. We find out more about this in the future. We're going to be like, holy shit, we were way more of a dumpster fire than we even realized. Fun guy saying, why would you take Coach Bud if they did fire him? Yeah. If we want to do that switch, we can do that. No problem. Coach Bud comes from the school of Popovich, and I love the school of Popovich. And Coach Bud has gotten really good results everywhere he goes. He did really well in Atlanta when he was a coach there too. And they've always won a lot. So I'm all about that. Oh, Tom is here. Tom is here. It's good to see. Tom's just not chatting. He's here watching, though. Yeah, I would do that switch with them. Milwaukee wants to switch coaches at the end of the year because they got put out. We'll take Bud. You can have Nurse. We could try that. Wayne saying, I'm not hot for Adrian. It doesn't move me. Grange speculating that the next coach is going to be external. Yeah, we've heard both ways. Like, in some ways, I understand. External might be smarter, but in some ways, it's safer to make it internal. Yeah, I'm the same way. Adrian Griffin doesn't move me either. It's like somebody said in the last couple of days, I think it was Nameless or Fun Guy, saying we don't want to downgrade. We don't want to look like, because we're going to look at Nick Nurse is on the out, coming out. Who's coming in? We don't want it to look like really not like, ooh. No, Griffin in some ways doesn't matter because he's internal. And, he'd be the next guy up on our ladder in our coaching staff to take the spot. And that makes sense. It's very much how Nick got to his head coaching spot. But, oh, man, he's not flashy. He's not exciting. In some ways, he won't garner the enthusiasm that maybe a name would, or somebody like, the fans may need somebody to be like more interesting to get back into Raptors basketball and feeling good about them winning. So in some ways, you're right. It's not a flashy pick, and it may not do that kind of effect for what we need. And that may be part of what we need to look at is who could we hire as a head coach that will inspire our fan nation to get very excited about next season. I don't think Griffin's that. Earl could be, though. And Earl, in some ways, could be that. Smooth saying at Raptor Superfan Mo, Brian was talking about Udoka. Which part was she saying? We have a coach, but we don't know who. Yeah, I don't even know what Brian Winders was saying exactly. Leslie's here. Nick Nurse to Hollywood and up to no good. The Boulevard of Broken Dreams, waiting for Bronny and the Nick Nurse schemes. Yeah, whatever. Listen, if Clutch messed up his head and made this season go to shit for the Raptors, fuck you, Clutch. Fuck you, Rich Paul. Yeah, I don't like this. I thought this was weird that LeBron owns an agency and like players that are under it and stuff like that, and coaches. It's so messed up. He shouldn't be allowed to do this until he retires. You can do this later, but while in the middle of what you're doing, there's just so many conflicts of interest. And it seems like you're developing a conflict of interest for the Raptors as far as what happened with our head coach this season. Tom Duke saying, I am here. I would be too dramatic as a coach. So, yeah, he couldn't coach those 5 Raptors because he's too dramatic. He'd get too upset and too crazy, probably yell at the refs. He may even sock someone. I could see Tom, maybe he socks Tony Brothers, or maybe he brings them Krokers. I don't know. Monique saying people don't talk about Stackhouse and Vanderbilt enough. Yeah, he won Coach of the Year in the SEC. He's done a pretty good job turning around that team. I'm going to tell you right now, in the SEC, Vanderbilt is at the bottom. That's not a team that does very well, competing with Georgia and Alabama and LSU and Auburn and Florida and all these great SEC teams. Vanderbilt is kind of the team that they kick around in that conference. And well, in some ways, Jerry went there and he brought some respect to their basketball team and got them a little better than what they were. They definitely improved. And I think they were slightly winning. They didn't win everything, but he turned them around and made them less of a laughing stock. Vanderbilt very much is like that in most of their sports, especially football. And in some ways, Jerry brought respect to the Vanderbilt men's basketball team, and that's nothing to laugh at. I mean, that's why he won SEC Coach of the Year one of the years he's there. So yeah, I'm all about Jerry Stackhouse. I think that the path is right, and he's been away during the Nick Nurse years, so he will be different and a different kind of energy. And being a former player is a big factor, y'all. Space Cadet saying agreed about needing a coach who is vocal on the sidelines. Griffin seems too relaxed and calm, but who is out there and available who gets vocal with the referees? Well, Frank Vogel. I'll bet you Jerry Stackhouse could talk to the refs real good. He's got a hard edge. Earl could probably be very, very like in with the refs and talking back and forth. I know him and Tony Brothers have a good relationship already. That's a good thing. Earl Watson's friends with Tony Brothers already coming in. So, some of them will have good relationships with the refs right away just because of their playing career. And that's why I kind of like having a former player as our next coach, whether it's Earl Watson, Adrian Griffin, or Jerry Stackhouse. Tom Duke is saying also, I am very busy lately, just springtime, so I have to work a ton. That makes total sense. Tom is in the green business, baby. He's all about making the green off the green. And he's got to get out there and put the green down to get the green into the pocket. And I'm with you, Tom, dude. You go and get your stuff done, Farmer Tom. Yeah, I love that. And Isaac's got a very cool house, little sunglasses guy and a construction guy. Good stuff. Good stuff. Wayne's saying selfishness was only on court. That's why our play was so inconsistent. Masai doesn't get into people's personal life. Let me break that down and make sure I treat this comment in the right way. Selfishness was only on the court. I don't know. In some ways, like the weird thing is everybody's accusing Fred of worrying about his extension this summer. Everybody's accusing Gary of this and his extension or his contract this summer. Everybody's accusing Pascal of wanting to be all NBA or a top 5 player and the selfishness of having personal goals. But in some ways, people were saying that the problem was people having personal goals. What if it was Nick Nurse? What if he had some weird personal goals on the down low because Clutch was influencing him as far as like in his head? It could be kind of thing like, all right, listen, you're in a relationship with somebody, but maybe there's an attractive person in your periphery and something in your head starting to tell you, you could go and meet that other person and start dating them and break up with who you are with right now. But that may not be a real reality or a real thing. And that's Clutch's in his ear saying, you're only making $8 million next year, but you're worth more, Nick. You're worth way more. You could be at least 10 million, if not 15 million. So if you get out of your contract with the Raptors for next season, we can get you 15 million next year with the Rockets. Yeah, Nick. Yeah. So why don't you start making, things are too good in your situation there. You're too ensconced. Everybody loves you. Everybody thinks you're such a foundational piece of the Raptors franchise. You're going to have to shake things up this season. Make things a little bit uneasy so that there's dissension so that you can leave. Oh, okay. Could there be something like that, even if it's not totally spoken that way, but manipulated that way by Clutch? Even if they didn't tell him straight up, they just gave him bad advice and kind of steered him that way. Who knows? I don't trust him in any kind of way. I really do see different moments in the season where he coached poorly on purpose and we had bad results. Like I know in the past he would have done way better in situations like late game situations, winning or different things, but he didn't care and he wasn't trying as hard. So just that bleeds down into the players. That in some ways, if the coach isn't trying as hard, and they can tell the difference in level because they've been coached by him for a few years, and all of a sudden, what the fuck is Nick phoning it in this year? Then it spreads like a disease around the team. It's like everybody starts phoning it in to a degree. That's what I'm saying. That it may seem like it was on the court, but if the leadership of the coach is already kind of like that, it will spread to the players and it'll be evident on the court also. So we're talking about where the source of this came from. I'm pretty sure it was Nick. And in this way, Wayne, that's what I'm saying. Let's see. Masai doesn't get into people's personal lives. Well, one of the things Masai said is he wasn't as hands-on He really hires someone and says, "You do your job, and I'll let you do it. I won't interfere." Well, he said he's going to be more keeping on tabs of this, more so than ever after this experience with Nick this year. That he feels like he does have to be a little bit more hands on, a little bit more present, and a little more involved in day to day issues and things that are happening with the team than he was before. And I'm glad because in some ways I like that. I know why he did it the other way because he doesn't want to step on toes and doesn't want to cause problems. Well, in some ways, we need more accountability around our team to ensure our culture stays intact. And that the best way to do that is Masai directing the coach more closely and being more like, all right, well, why are you not playing these guys in development? We need Malachi and Delano out there more. Okay, I'll do it. Instead of just saying, leaving it up to Nick and hoping he does do it when he didn't do it at all this whole season. So I'm all about that. I'm all about that for sure. Now, Masai does get into people's personal lives. He has to. That's part of his job. He has to know what's going on with each one of the players and the coaches in some ways, what's going on with them. And if they have family problems or different issues going on, the team will try and help. The team will try and do things. And if there were problems with Nick Nurse's family, whether they're medical or tragedy or any kind of issue, whatever, I'm sure the Raptors were being very considerate in trying to help him in this whole situation. But yeah, they have to. This is part of their job. They're personnel. They need to know their stuff. They need to know what's going on with them. As in some ways, it's like Masai needed to know Scotty was on Twitch last summer. Leslie saying, at super fan mode, Jerry Stackhouse has been my first. I hope we get him because he was amazing at player development. Yeah, there's a lot of things I like about the idea of Jerry Stackhouse for sure. He checks a lot of good boxes off. He's won a championship with the Raptors, 905 championship, and that means something. That means something. Him and Chris Boucher are obviously close because he coached him on the 905. And like I said, Chris Boucher in some ways was developed partly by Jerry Stackhouse. The Boucher we have today is partly because of his time with Stack. Cowboys saying, "Good for you, Tom. Keep growing. Let me know hope what you're growing is peppers. If not, let me know, bro. Been busy too, always, but wish I could be with y'all. Gotta go for real later. Raptor Freak fan, let's go." Well, he does landscaping, Bradley. So he's doing like going to people's property and putting stuff down and taking care of their yards and doing all that kind of stuff. And he has a crew that comes and works with him and stuff like that. So that's what Tom's doing. Is he's not really growing food. Well, he does probably. I know he does. He does grow food, but he's doing a lot of the landscape architecture and landscaping work for people's properties around Victoria. That is his company. Monique saying, "How happy are we need about the Global Jam news? How happy are we need about the Global Jam? It's nice to have good news around things and all the confusion and uncertainty about our team for sure. And I like that Calipari in Kentucky's coming. That's going to be fantastic." Randolph saying, "Lex, I still believe that Mark Jackson brings to our team a somewhat superstar coach that would be an upgrade to our team." I would not have a problem with him in some ways. Like I said, he's attractive because he's a former Raptor. He's a former great player, an all-star. He very much has a lot of respect. He'd be fine with the referees. He seems like he has the get up and go, that's energy and like the passion, and that he probably has some things he wants to prove since he hasn't had a head coaching job in a while since he did have one. So he may be ready to get another head coaching job and really prove some stuff. So yeah, I can get behind Mark Jackson. He's just somebody that I haven't heard actually in the circles of being rumored to be interviewed or a possible candidate. That's the only reason why I haven't brought him up, is because I didn't see his name anywhere on the internet of being speculated as a possible candidate. Troy Henry saying playoff Kyle is killing it. What a win for Miami. Just happy for Kyle. Anyways, wish he was still riding with us in the Raps. Yeah, Troy, good stuff by Kyle Lowry. Not doing it by scoring, but setting people up, making big plays like steals and doing different little things that winners do. You add that winning mentality that Kyle has with Jimmy Butler, and look out. That's a first round exit for a number one seed, the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, they're in big trouble, Milwaukee. Leslie saying, "Hi, Tom. We need some food for tonight." I didn't tell him what the food was for the rest. We're not doing food for other games, just for our games. But yeah, I could start reading them when there's less games. Maybe I'll do that when there's less games. Wayne's saying Nick Nurse coaching is on the court. Lex, your speculation is on the court. It's not personal. Nick Nurse coaching is on the court. Lex, your speculation is on the court. It's not personal. Well, what I'll say is the Raptors, because they're a family kind of organization, if there's issues that people are going through with like a family member may be ill, maybe there's something wrong with somebody's parent, maybe there's different things. Masai's going to know about this stuff. And in some ways, they have to be very understanding and nice, or like, accommodating and comforting to the person. Like, take, for example, Andrew Wiggins this past season. His father was very sick, and that's why he was away. He was looking after his dad Mitchell, who used to play in the league, and they didn't reveal that until later. And that's what I'm saying. There's personal issues that like Nick Nurse may have been going through that Masai was very aware of this whole season. And in some ways, maybe he gave him more allowances to be kind of upset and messed up and not coaching as well because of maybe something personally going on in his family. We don't know. We don't know. It's all interconnected. Trust me. If you have personal issues at home, it will affect your performance on the court. And that's what I'm trying to say is I feel like maybe something happened with Nick's personal life that made it very, very stressful for him. And then he broke, like he had the pressure and then snapped. And then maybe he did something that was really fucked up during the season that the players just lost all respect for him because of maybe something he said. And that may have happened around December. And then, like for the whole rest of the season, they just been going through the motions. And maybe Earl said something to him early in January that was something abrasive that Nick didn't like, and he got mad at him and he suspended him and told him not to come to New York for a trip, and he wasn't on the bench. There's all kinds of internal stuff that was happening on the down low, and some of it it's like it's connected to, I don't know. I don't know what we're. It's not that we're arguing. I'm just trying to elaborate or talk more about this whole subject and say, yeah, does that make sense, Wayne? Because they all kind of connect in some ways. Like if you're not doing well at home, like if say like God forbid, Kyle Lowry's mother wasn't doing well, that would affect him on the court. And that was something that I speculated last year when Kyle kept taking leave of absences, that somebody in his family was not doing well. And that's why he wanted to be away for personal time with that person. And when Nick took the time off in December, I thought it wasn't because he got in a fight with someone. I thought it was because maybe he had a parent that was in the hospital. Maybe he had some issue with his children or his wife, and that he needed to be away for his family. It wasn't that I thought that there was a conflict with personality in the team. I thought it was a personal issue with something else with his family. So I don't know. I'm just talking in circles. But yeah, if you understand better, and I'm sure we're talking about the same thing, we're just coming at it from different angles. Fiercely saying, do the players get a free pass to play however they want? Don't they follow game plans? I don't think they were fully selfish. Yeah, I think that part of it is if you don't have a structure and a system that you're really making them follow, that they fill in the blanks the way they want to. And part of it is that it's corruption. It's like power corrupts. You give them the power to like make the decisions themselves, and well, maybe they're going to be more selfish because they have that freedom to be selfish and take what they want in that kind of way. Whereas if the coach was demanding more cohesiveness, more passing, more unselfishness the whole time, this wouldn't have set in. That's what I'm saying. Like Nick being so laissez-faire about how they played the offense allowed for the selfishness because he's not giving them structure and telling them how to do it. And that's how they can fall into easy habits of being more selfish in that way. Does that make sense? That if you have a structure and you tell them, well, this is who's getting the shots and everybody knows, well, then there's no room for them to be selfish. It's the coach telling them what to do. And because he didn't tell them what to do, they had the opportunity to be selfish. I think that makes sense. All right, guys, let's just finish up the stream real quick. Just, oh, wow, an hour and 40 minutes. I didn't realize it was so long. So, yeah, good stuff last night. The Lakers winning in overtime over the Grizzlies. It's too bad. I really am rooting for the Grizzlies, but they want them Lakers to win. They really do. They want them to survive and keep going. I'm sure they do. Emma Udoka, hired by the Houston Rockets yesterday, so he is off the table for us. That is fine. A lot of people are okay with this, and it is what it is. Easy come, easy go. Some people are upset. Some people are all right with it. Brand new open gym came out yesterday. It may be the saddest open gym I've ever seen. It's very depressing. The end of it is very sad, and it makes you realize we are ending an era of Raptors basketball now that Nick Nurse is departing as our coach. It is a very big change. Chris Boucher. I just want to real quick make a note. Chris Boucher is the new spokesperson for Subway in Quebec. He's in all the French-speaking Subway commercials in Quebec, just like Scotty was across Canada with Bowlway last summer. Chris Boucher is now getting that Subway money over in Quebec in French-speaking Subway commercials in that province. You go, Chris Boucher. Get those bags. You slim duck, long boy. Yeah, get those bags. That's right. Monique just wrote in what I was just talking about. Yeah, I was actually just looking at it at the same time. We great minds think alike, Monique. All right, real quick, the ref report again for tonight in Boston for the fifth game, Atlanta Boston, where Boston can win. Josh Tiven, Courtney Kirkland, and Trey Maddox are the refs. They all favor Boston. In Denver, where Minnesota is in trouble and may be eliminated by the Nuggets, Scott Foster is the crew chief. Curtis Blair and Brian Forte are the other two refs. Scott Foster slightly favors the Timberwolves, and then the other two refs favor the Nuggets. Clippers and Phoenix tonight, game 5, where the Clippers are in trouble to be eliminated. Zach Zarba, Ben Taylor, and Carl Lane. Zach Zarba favors the Phoenix Suns. Meanwhile, Ben Taylor and Carl Lane very much favor the Clippers. It's not even close. They very, very, very much favor the Clippers. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching me today. I'll be back tomorrow for a whoa Wednesday, a wild card Wednesday. I'll have some sort of reaction to something from the news this week. Maybe talk more and more about the coaching stuff tomorrow, obviously. Now that Udoka's off the table, we'll continue our day-to-day coverage of the Raptors head coach search and how it's going so far and the news that we find out from the news and stuff like that. W stream to you also, Monique. I appreciate you in so many different ways. So many different ways. All right, y'all, please subscribe. It really helps the channel. And have a great Tuesday. And I'll be back tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Let's go Raptors. Forever, baby.